speaking of everyone's daddy, Trump is back, boys. And honestly, oh God, I love it. I love it. Let's watch in a positive way.
Wow. He's a big crowd.
He looks good. He looks good. He like slimmed down a little bit, you know?
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
Look at him. Look at him. He's so happy. He's so happy to be in his crowd, in the zone, dude. Look at that. Can Joe Biden do that? Huh? Can Joe Biden walk up a ramp like that? I think not.
Okay, I just have one minor complaint. I did not get that reaction when I came out.
It's actually funny. Look at them, dude. They're in such a jovial mood for both of them. Also, look at the state police APC back there, dude. Texas DPS, like they're flexing all their toys. They're like, this is what you get if you come here illegally, migrant.
Thank you.
Mr. President, great to have you.
Hi, Sean.
Boy, you know, I guess one question.
Thank you, Anika
I asked this crowd, do you miss them yet? I think I know the answer.
Do you miss me yet? So the question I have before we even get into this, I mean, I miss them. You know that. You know that already. I miss them so much. I want to kiss them. Mwah. But the question I have for this crowd always is like, what specifically do you hate about Joe Biden's policies that makes you want Donald Trump to be president again? What has Joe Biden done, or what areas has he not done enough in that cause you to want Donald Trump to be president again? Because I know people get mad at me for this. I know that like there are neoliberals who get mad when I say this stuff, but ultimately, this is a question I always have for Republicans. Like, why don't you just vote for Democrats? If you just want like lower taxes and deregulation, why don't you just vote for Democrats? The difference between the Democratic Party is that they unironically do believe in austerity. They genuinely do believe in austerity. They're going to implement maybe minor tax increases, maybe minor tax increases. And also on top of that, you don't get the extra racism spice. And that's it. Like, people won't call you a racist. With respect to like Joe Biden, who has done a decent job in certain areas, like pushing for a solid recovery package through budget reconciliation, I need people to tell me, identify and tell me why that's bad. I need Joe Biden voters to, or Donald Trump voters to sit around in a circle and explain to me why it's bad that the Democrats are trying to push for a fat infrastructure package. And I need them to describe to me why Donald Trump would be better. There is absolutely no shot that a Republican would be able to tell me that Joe Biden so far has been worse than Donald Trump for them without utilizing just random culture war talking points like, hey, Mr. Potato Head no longer has a wee-wee. I need my Mr. Potato Head to have a fat hog, veiny, juicy, thick. Or CRT, brother, critical racism theory, brother. That's what I need. I need Donald Trump to come back and finish CRT. It's like how does that impact your life in any meaningful capacity? What do you think CRT is? What do you think Joe Biden has done personally with respect to critical race theory? Like, what is critical race theory? Donald Trump, unironically, in the first 4 years of his presidency, at a certain point, tried to implement red flag laws and got bump stocks banned. So right now, I mean, we're still in the beginning phases of the Biden presidency, but he has done more to ban certain parts of guns, basically, than Joe Biden has. If you're going to tell me that Joe Biden is doing critical race theory by, I don't know, defunding the police, then I need them to describe to me exactly how Joe Biden has defunded the police or even advocated to defund the police when he, one, got a cop to be his vice president, and two, literally ran on increasing the police budget. I'm not saying Joe Biden and Donald Trump are the same, but it is always wild to me when I hear Republicans talk about how poor of a job Joe Biden is doing when he's doing exactly what they would want him to do. It's just like the seasoning is different. You know what I mean? If Joe Biden was like, we're increasing police budgets, Jack, because these blacks are unruly, then everyone would be like, hell yeah, brother. Yeah, brother. But he's just like, we're increasing police budgets, Jack, because they need training. And then all the neoliberals are like, yes, this is great. Oh my my God, thank God. And all the Republicans are like, I hate this. Well, ultimately, police budgets increase. Donald Trump moved the American embassy to Jerusalem, which kickstarted a lot of the final iteration of the Palestinian-Israel massacres that Israel engages in against Palestinians. Not like Joe Biden moved the embassy back. It's not like Joe Biden was like, yeah, that was a bad move. That was a misstep. We're going to roll that back immediately and normalize relations with the region. And, scale back on the amount of money that we give to Israel unconditionally. He didn't do any of that. He increased weapons sales to Israel. So the only difference there was that, Donald Trump would say, Palestinians are dogs. They're going to die. We need to give all the weapons to Israel. And Joe Biden's like, come on, Jack, we got to stay out of this. We got to stay out of this issue, Jack. And then keep pumping funds into Israel and also keep selling them weapons. So what's up?
The day you and Melania Trump came down that escalator, you talked about securing our country's borders. You had to fight hard to get the money to build 500 miles of wall, to stay in Mexico policy. You built the wall. You ended catch and release. Now we see what's happening. Your reaction to all of it.
Well, there has never been a better time 6 months ago, and there's never been a worse time. We had the tightest security. You could come into our country legally. But you know what else we were stopping? Massive amounts of drugs, human traffickers, bad people, criminals. They're emptying their jails into our country.
This is categorically false. Under the Trump administration, whether it was because QAnon was interfering with sex trafficking investigations or not, I don't know. I mean, I know they were, but not to the same degree that it would hurt their overall operations, or whether because most of their focus was on non-violent, non-criminal immigrants that were just simply living within U.S. borders. But under the Trump administration, less sex traffickers were caught than any other administration. Straight up. I've said this before, it wasn't that Trump's administration was the most corrupt administration in modern history. They were just not good at hiding the corruption and didn't really care. Do you understand? That's the difference. They just didn't care, and they didn't try to hide it. They just did it out in the open.
We even have Doc Ronnie, right? So my doctor in the White House who became a congressman.
By the way, Ronnie, would you mind giving Joe a cognitive test? President Sippy Cup, I don't know how well he's going to do, but anyway, I won't get you in trouble with these comments.
We aced it. I think I can say that I aced it.
Did he get
I love that.
He didn't get one question wrong, did he? 30 out of 30.
Wow. You have such a big, beautiful brain. I have such a big, beautiful brain. I aced the cognition test. Come on, dude. It's so good. I actually don't know how Hannity can talk so clearly when he has Donald Trump's entire dick, ballsack, and asshole shoved directly down his throat. It is wild that you can hear the clarity still.
The policies that have been reversed. Joe hasn't come to the border. You've been here many times. Kamala really...
Dude, I love that they were so adamant about how symbolic and empty of a gesture it was that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez went to the border and went to a detention center and cried. And now they're crying that they're not doing the symbolic and empty gestures of going to the border. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
What would you want them to know that they don't know, or maybe they do know and they don't seem to care about?
Well, Kamala wouldn't have come if she didn't hear I was coming. I was invited by the governor.
I'm gonna come. I'm saying it. Kamala wouldn't have come. I'm gonna come.
And I said yes. And I said yes, to my honor, because we were very proud of the job we did. Nobody's ever done the job that we've done. We built over, now I guess it's close to 500 miles of wall. And we were going to build an extra 200 because we had money left over. We were going to do an extra 200. And nobody's ever done this. And all he had to do is go another 2 months and the wall would have been totally completed. And by the way, they have to paint the wall. I'm going to give that job to Brian. We have to paint, great congressman. We have to paint the wall because it's starting to rust. It's supposed to be painted. And they don't even want to paint the wall. It's so disgraceful. 2 more months.
Dude, this type of aesthetic stuff is so good because you do see the rust on the walls and you think yeah, he's right. We should paint it. We should paint it. He's right. And it's also the type of stuff that a Republican would care about. The wall straight up does not stop any drug trafficking. Okay. One, because you can use slingshots or, tunnel under it. But most importantly, because drug trafficking does not happen across the border via illegal entry through border crossings, 97% of all drugs trafficked into the United States comes from regular ports of entry. And this is something I've talked about a million times over. You could say wrong all you want, but it's the truth. I love that Republicans refuse to fix infrastructure unless it's something that is purely symbolic, like a stupid wall that doesn't prevent anything, and painting that stupid wall that will do absolutely nothing. Like the only... We have bridges that are crumbling all around the country. We have dams that are in a state of disrepair. And Republicans are like, hell yeah, paint that goddamn wall red, white, and blue, brother.
But we have thousands of hardened criminals, like we don't even have in this country practically. MS-13, we took them out by the thousands. You know, I told the story just now, we had the border. The three countries, primarily Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. MS-13 and other criminals were coming out, and they wouldn't take them back in the Obama administration. They refused to take them back.
This is like, all of this is a lie. The Obama administration deported more than the Trump administration did, even in its first 4 years. Part of that was because of border crossings being designated as deportations, okay? That's what increased the numbers. The biggest difference between the Obama administration and the Trump administration was their hyper focus on criminal immigrants that had a record or had done a crime. Trump expanded on that to include undocumented immigrants living in U.S. borders, no matter how long they've been here, doesn't matter. He wanted everyone to get deported. He wanted to use ICE as a deportation force, kind of like the Gestapo, and focused on every single person. This is the legal difference between what Donald Trump did and what Obama did, okay? He also, while simultaneously saying that, like, Obama is not doing enough, or Joe Biden is not doing enough to deport immigrants, he keeps saying how much they're deporting immigrants and how much harm they're causing to undocumented immigrants. It literally does not make sense. It physically cannot be these two thoughts you can't have inside of your mind at the same time.
Do you have a theory, an idea? Because I really can't think of one, except that, you know, I think in years gone by, I would argue that there were Republicans that wanted illegal immigration because they get cheap labor. And I think that Democrats want to provide something of great worth, which would be amnesty, citizenship.
And you have rhinos. You do have rhinos. Look, the rhinos...
There's a lot of rhinos out there.
The rhinos sometimes, I may say, the rhinos, these people, you don't have any rhinos in this room. We probably have 45 congressmen here and women.
My favorite
you don't have any rhinos in this group, but you have rhinos. I call them weak Republicans. They walk into the White House. I've been watching for 4 weeks now. They walk in, they meet Biden, he doesn't know what the hell's happening. They meet Biden, he's sitting, and they're talking about infrastructure. And finally, they walk out, they have a deal, and the deal is a terrible deal, but it's a deal. And it sort of reminds me of England a long time ago. We have a deal, we have a deal. You remember the deal they made with Germany? Not too good. That didn't work out too well.
What? If I don't understand what he's saying, there's no shot his stands get what he's saying here, okay? What is he even talking about? He doesn't mean Brexit, I don't think. Does he mean NATO? Like, what is he referencing? Appeasement? No, dude. He's not talking about appeasement. No shot. Are you guys serious? He is? Wait.
And finally, they walk out, they have a deal, and the deal is a terrible deal, but it's a deal. And it sort of reminds me of England a long time ago. We have a deal. We have a deal. You remember the...
Absolutely 0% chance Trump knows what appeasement is. No, I refuse to believe that appeasement is a concept that exists in Donald Trump's mind. You guys are unironically crazy if you think he knows what it is.
The deal they made with Germany, not too good. That didn't work out too well, right? But they reminded me, they walk out, we have a deal, we have a deal. And it was the typical names. There were a couple of good ones in there. I don't know how they got roped in, but they walk in. So they have a deal. And then Biden canceled the deal because the radical left said, you can't make that deal. That deal's no good.
None of this is true, by the way. From the point of view of like what actually happened, I've moved beyond whether it was appeasement or not. And he's comparing Biden to Hitler or not. But what he's talking about is literally not true. What Joseph Robinette Biden did, which was a very smart tactical move, in my opinion, was to say, hey, here you go. I gave you your bipartisan deal, Jack. And then we're also going to do a simultaneous reconciliation package. And I'm not going to sign it if both aren't there. Both aren't on my table. Now, that was too powerful of a move. That was too alpha of a move for Joe Biden. Let's be real, which is precisely why he turned around and reneged that offer to the progressives. because that was going to be something for the progressives. That was a way to shut the annoying moderate centrist Democrats up, a way to show like bipartisanship, and now and then also get his larger infrastructure package through budget reconciliation. Now we'll see what actually happens. I don't know what's going to happen, but Trump is saying that he went back and he just lied to them or whatever. I don't think so. That's not true.
This is a town hall. We're going to have some questions. Ma'am, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
What's your first name?
My name is Janet Brown, and I live in Edinburgh.
Welcome, and thank you for being with us. What's your question?
I am Hispanic. I actually came from Nicaragua, Central America. I'm very familiar with Central America because I lived there 2 years in Honduras and the rest in Nicaragua. I came to the United States in 1960. I won't tell you my age. But anyway, I came here legally, and it is really...
Which means, I mean, I don't know exactly what time frame she came here. It could, one, mean that at the time there was an immigration policy that was more, I guess, humane, where you could easily come to the United States of America. Two, was a CIA asset and very clearly worked with the CIA and from a regime that the American State Department was fond of, or as a refugee, aka CIA asset. Or three, was just rich as fuck, which also pairs up with America's State Department interests. So that person turning around and shitting on the rest of the immigrants coming in, and she is pretty light skinned, so it does make sense. But for that person to turn around and talk doo-doo about the other immigrants coming in is for a deliberate reason. Let's keep going.
Sad. President Trump, what long-term damage and destruction will Biden's open borders agenda do to the country, and what is it costing the law-abiding U.S. taxpayers?
So it's a very fair question, and I know you know that answer probably as well as everybody in this room. It's incalculable how bad this is, where you have not hundreds of thousands, but millions of people storming into our country. Some of them, as we discussed, are from prisons, and they're bad, and they're murderers, and all of the things that I said before. There's no way to judge that kind of damage. And getting them out is an ordeal. And all sorts of things will happen. It's going to be very hard. But I will say this, it has to be stopped now. This can't go till 2022. They all say, oh, we're going to win Congress. This can't go. They have to do something immediately. People are storming up. You look at some of these caravans where they have 15 and 20 and 25,000 people, and you don't know who's in those caravans. And dotted in those caravans are some of the worst people on earth. So it's a tremendous cost, and it's also monetarily a tremendous cost. You're talking about trillions and trillions of dollars.
Sean, can I add to it?
Yeah.
Janet.
Actually costs significantly more to, if you were to build proper housing or reappropriate hotels or vacant houses or homes or whatever in certain parts of the country, to integrate and build like orientation programs, I guess, for undocumented immigrants that were coming over the border and seeking asylum in the most empathetic and humane way possible, you would, one, create more jobs, two, be able to revitalize certain parts of the American economy, and three, ultimately, it would cost significantly less to do that rather than prosecute them as though they're criminals and put them through the system.
I guess the question is, let's talk about 2022. Really good chance you will be reelected. The House could turn Republican. And then we look at the states where Senate races are. I don't think it could be a bigger bellwether. Florida, Georgia, North and South Carolina, New Hampshire. We have Ohio, Wisconsin, and Arizona. Those are all states we're very familiar with. How important is it for the Republicans to take those key Senate races?
So I think without weak Republican rhino leadership, you'd win every one of them.
Everyone.
But dotted in there are people that you almost would say don't like this country. They don't like the Republican Party.
I mean, this is just, again, a personal branding project for Donald Trump. The way he's talking about this is specifically like trying to draw battle lines within the Republican Party as either you're pro-Trump and a real Republican, or you're anti-Trump, or kind of questioning Trump's power, and you are anti-Republican, right? The real Republicans are the ones who are Trumpers, and the fake ones are those like Liz Cheney, and therefore bad. Rhinos. This has nothing to do with like actually winning elections or anything like that. That's it. He's just setting it up for himself, basically. That's all he's doing.
With strong Republican leadership in charge of those states, you'll win every one of them. Without that, you won't.
Governor, I'm going to give you, this is your last segment with us, what it means to you to be the conservative governor of Texas.
Open borders hurts workers and wages. Not sure why you are such a big fan of them. No. Open borders do not hurt workers and wages. That is an absolute lie, okay? There is no finite amount of jobs available. Economies scale. Open borders are only hurting workers and wages because of the two-tiered immigration system in this country that creates a constantly refreshing pool of labor that you can basically work for near slavery wages. That's it. The real problem isn't immigration. The real problem is not allowing workers to organize and not allowing undocumented labor to be documented labor. That's it. And that's precisely why we are significantly more brutal to the undocumented immigrants that come into this country than the corporations that hire them. If you truly wanted to end undocumented immigration in this country, you would punish the corporations that hire undocumented immigrants. But that would impact their bottom line tremendously. Our agricultural production heavily relies on migrant labor. Our food production, like our processing plants, heavily rely on undocumented labor. Punishing the corporations, not with just a slap on the wrist, but straight up by punishing them and even putting them in jail. But you won't do that. And the reason why the American government won't do that is because our two-tiered immigration system is built in a way so that we can have slaves. That is the truth.
Well, let's talk about your future plans. Now, I have a funny... Let me ask the crowd of everybody here, would you like to see the president run again in 2024? You're not going to answer, but I have to ask. Where are you in the process of, or have you made up your mind?
3.
Yes.
I think you got it right. Yeah.
The Middle East has been a disaster for this country. We've spent trillions and trillions of dollars. We got nothing. And the beauty was we didn't need their oil anymore, but now we're going to need their oil again because we're not going to be energy independent for very long. I don't believe we are now. And when I left, it was $1.87 a gallon for gas, and now it's $3.50.
It's almost $1.30 more just since Joe's gotten to be president. Let me ask you a question, because I would argue, and I did argue.
I wonder what happened, dude. It's almost like there was something that happened that people weren't buying a lot of gas. They weren't really driving around, and now gas prices have like become normal again. I can't think of what it was. Probably Joe Biden. It is actually Trump is in a really hard situation here because like the recovery is built in. Like reopening the economy, even if you didn't add significant investments, as soon as you reopen the economy, even if you didn't vaccinate people, if you just reopened the economy, a lot of people were going to be happy. They would probably die because of COVID because there were no vaccines, but they would still be happier automatically. Like, so Biden has always had a built-in mechanism where his approval rating was going to be significantly higher than most other presidents, and that's precisely why he's trailing at like 65% for a long time, which is why it's harder for Trump to make arguments against Joe Biden right now. It's kind of hard for Trump to make arguments against Joe Biden because Joe Biden's in a pretty good situation being the president after Donald Trump and also being the president while the American economy reopens.
If you had sons that lied on a gun permit, threw a gun in a dumpster, smoked crack, got money from Ukraine with no experience, Kazakhstan no experience, Russia with no experience, 100,000.
Dude, you're literally sitting across the podium from a guy who had no experience and became president, and his cabinet was full of people who famously had no experience, including Jared Kushner, who was supposed to facilitate peace in the Middle East. Like, Hunter Biden isn't a part of the Biden administration. Yes, he was a recipient of nepotism, certainly. These people all trade with their family name. And the Biden administration, as I already mentioned, certainly has a lot of that same kind of nepotism that exists within the administration, but not to the same degree as Donald Trump. How are you going to make a morally consistent argument here?
I've known you for years. I've watched you for years at Trump Tower. I watched you all the years you were in the White House. You sleep maybe 4 hours a night, 4.5, 5 max. You never stop working. Joe Biden averages less than one schedule.
Wow, boys, this is a brutal interview. Sean Hannity is really asking some tough questions here, man. I wonder how Donald Trump will get out of this one, dude. It's like, how is this? I mean, this is a suck session. He straight up golfed more than any other president. Like, come on, dude.
I watched him on the State of the Union get up and speak, and it was terrible. It was, I don't want to go into that, but it was terrible. It was a terrible, and I thought he was going to get killed. And I had to watch your competition just to see what they were saying. Now, FDR was a great speaker. You remember some of the speeches he made were incredible. And the only thing you have to fear is fear itself, with that beautiful. Sure. They compared him to FDR. Okay? Now, the good news is they've lost
You should have been watching Hannity. That was not what was happening.
No, I know. I watched that. Yeah. Well, that one I could have predicted.
Yeah.
But look, there was nothing good. It was embarrassing. And they were comparing him to FDR. Now, it was so embarrassing to watch that. I couldn't believe it. I was surprised. I watched specifically because I said, he's going to get killed. He didn't get killed. They said, great. And Nancy was sitting behind him with the single biggest mask I've ever seen. That was the largest. It covered her entire face. I've never seen anything like it. No, I've never seen anything like it.
I've got to wrap
And she didn't rip up his speech either.
Like she did with you, Rip.
I got to wrap things up, dude. He's like, he still wants to keep going. I love this man.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hannity is a Trump weeb for sure. Actually, a Trump weeb. So here's some good news about, now that we saw Donald Trump, here's some interesting news about Donald Trump. Donald Trump's actual Trump organization, which is closely tied to him as a person who he didn't even divest in or put in a blind trust throughout the duration of his presidency, is now facing charges on tax evasion for
Trump.